It is now after 7 p.m., and we will commence the regularly scheduled meeting of the North Andover Conservation Commission. We will start by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. I understand we have minutes that have been reviewed and are ready to be approved.
I move that we approve the minutes of the meeting for April the 12th, 2017.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are accepted. All right, the public meeting portion will begin. We'll start with the small projects. We're going to take it in order from the agenda. We have small project number 190. Is anyone present for that small project?
No.
So Jen will handle that.
DPW, I'd handle it.
Right.
They just, you have some aerial photos. You can see how this driveway comes off of Duncan Drive and goes way out to the back to a farm. It's more than 100 feet from the road, and the fire department would like to see a hydrant on the property. So there is a water main that runs directly from Duncan Drive out to Lost Pond, and they will just connect this hydrant to that main. The hydrant itself is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, but they will have to excavate up into the main water line, make the connection, and that work is in the buffer zone. So it's basically a trenching project. Erosion control is proposed. I recommend accepting as an L and pre- and post inspections.
Mr. McDonough.
What's the closest distance of work to the wetland?
It's more than 50 feet, but it's in maintained, like, paddock and yard, if you look on the aerial.
And what's L?
L is other.
Other? Okay. I have no other questions.
Deb.
No questions.
Doug. No questions. There are no questions. We're ready to move it.
One other question. Doesn't it come under any other specific category other than L for something
No,
as
we have
minimal as
the
this?
sewer connection one, but we don't have a water. So water is, utilities are exempted now under the insignificant project list there but we don't have a water line connection specific.
And
Because we didn't accept most of the utility exemptions that DEP added into the regs.
so we just want pre and post construction inspections?
Yeah, so I can check that they put the erosion control in the right place, and then post just to make sure everything's stabilized afterwards.
So, Mr. Chairman, I will move that we accept this under section L as proposed with pre and post construction inspection.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. We need one more motion.
I did it all. I think I did it all.
Was that
in
an
one.
omnibus?
Yeah, I did it. I was trying to be efficient there.
So in that motion, it was both?
Under
So
L
approve
and
as
accepted
proposed
with
with pre and
accept.
post. Got
Okay.
it.
Got it. Nicely done, Sean. Threw it right by me, high and inside.
That's all right.
All right. 191, small project number 191. This is 60 Patton Lane.
This is for a chain link fence.
Okay.
You should have the plan in front of you. And, sure.
So I went out and visited the site with Mr. Baez and his wife, and we reviewed a backyard project. The pool, which was approved by the commission last April, is almost complete, and now they're looking to put in a fence around it. As you can see on the plan, it is in the riverfront area towards the front of the house, but it is just going parallel with the front of the house, and perpendicular to the lot lines. And then in the back of the property, it is, I think he moved, it looks like, according to the plan, that you moved it out of the 50-foot no-build zone. It had previously been placed a little bit further back, within 25 feet of the wetland that's located on the abutting property towards the rear.
So, yeah, the original markup had it a little closer to the property line, but I didn't, it was actually a mistake on my part. I don't think we intend to go that close. So the updated markup shows where we plan to put the chain link fence. Should be.
No trees will be removed, right?
No, that's correct. And I actually added that to the note that I made for markups there.
Are there any markers out there?
Not right now.
Can you get
There-
some markers out there to?
There's actually, I went back out to the
Well,
property after
there's
I saw your
flags,
email.
yeah, yeah.
Correct.
There's wetland flags, but no wetland
Do we have the
markers.
opportunity to do that now, is to get wetland markers at the 25-foot?
Okay.
He doesn't really have a 25 per se, but we could probably put one where it's kind of off-site to his property, just so people know there's something back there.
Yeah.
Say that again?
There isn't, the wetland's off-property.
Okay.
So he does have a little bit of 25-foot buffer zone on his property.
Yeah.
So we could probably get one marker out there.
And is that a wall, that the stones going across there?
Yeah, I think that, is that the utility right-of-way back there?
Correct. So the property basically has two stone walls. The first one is before the easement, the utility easement, and then the space between the two stone walls. The back one is the end of the property, and I have an easement between the
Over
two.
there.
Yep.
And what do you do between the two stone walls as far as like maintaining the property?
It's mostly just
Mow.
overgrown and.
It's
and-
wooded.
It's wooded?
Yep.
It's wooded?
Yeah,
Okay.
with mature trees.
Yeah, all right.
Yep.
Yeah, so one marker back there would be great. Thank you.
Deb?
No questions.
No questions, we're ready to move it.
What are we moving this under?
Except
Well,
as
we're
an
moving
H.
small project number 191. We have to,
H.
Except as an H.
H,
Yep.
okay.
is it
So,
H? Yep.
I move that we grant the application for NACC 191 as a small project under subsection H, and just required post-construction inspection, Jen,
And a marker.
and a marker.
Quick question, is the marker something that I have to do, or is that something, this is the first time I hear about the markers?
We can bring one out when we come. Actually, we will do a pre-construction with the fence company just to make sure they understand where the fence should go.
It's
Okay.
a small disc.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'll-
hang it on a tree.
We can
Okay.
hang it on a mature tree. We'll help you locate a spot.
Sounds good.
And I'd like to add that no trees would be removed.
Correct.
Are you seconding the motion and amending?
I am seconding and amending.
So I have a motion, a second with an amendment. And Doug? Nothing left, huh? All right. All right, so a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor?
All right?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Thank you.
I'll s-
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Public hearings, request for determination of applicability, 380 Winter Street, Bannister, Elliott Brundage Landscape Design, continued from May 24th, 2017. There is a note in the notes here, there is a request to withdraw.
Yes.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. There is,
Is there any need for discussion on a request to withdraw? Anything
Any need?
interesting?
just, they're withdrawing without prejudice, I trust?
Right, they don't want to go forward with the project.
Okay, so we'll note that the withdrawal is without prejudice, should they decide that they want to bring it back at any time. Okay? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. They are withdrawn. 20 English Circle, Merrimack Engineering.
This is a proposal for a above-ground pool.
Okay,
There was some brush dumping out at the site. Some photos of that. It was cleaned up. There was a follow-up site visit.
okay.
Kind of is the aerial. And in front of you. The resource area is an ephemeral pool. So the technical, even, this says 25 and 50, but after having been out there, it's really 50, 75. But the pool is 80 feet away, has a cartridge-style filter. The other thing that doesn't show on the plan is a fence was expanded on the property. The fence previously, you can see in the aerials, kind of enclosed a smaller portion of the yard, but the yard was all cleared. No additional yard was cleared, just the fence was extended. And the homeowner is here.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
So do you want to just give us a brief presentation? You don't have to, but if you'd like to, you can.
I just have a wide open yard. I want to put the pool in between the 80-foot buffer zone and 10 feet off the septic. We have the clearance to put in a 24-foot pool, and that's what we're requesting.
Okay. Jen, no, I'll wait, Sean. My question can wait.
I don't have any questions at this point.
My only question, I note in the photos that you gave us, you photographed an area of brush dumping. Is there an opportunity to allow them to build a compost area within, outside of the 25 that would give them a place to dump their stuff?
Yeah, they could do something in the existing yard. I mean, this pile is historic. It's kind of massive. I think it probably predates you maybe even living in the house.
Yeah,
But that said, he kind of took away the new stuff
Yeah.
and brought it down to where it was mostly just branches and things at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, within the existing yard, it's all lawn. I mean, they could.
I mean, if you're interested in finding a place to put your grass and stuff when you cut it, you want to do a compost pile that keeps you out of trouble with the administrator, they could probably help you locate a spot.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, there's a pine tree on the property that needs to be removed?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, and also, you did expand the fence, and that needs to be drawn on the plan, is that correct?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful if your sketch could include the fence where it's located,
Okay.
just so we have a final as-built. You can submit that to us after,
Okay.
or at the pre-construction meeting or whenever.
And then also, you would like 2 wetland markers on the property?
On the back of the
the back of
fence,
the fence.
kind of in line with what Sean was asking for on the other filing. Just-
Okay. So, and you could get those from Jennifer?
And they could just be like zip tied onto the fence.
That's it, thank you.
Doug? No question. Anything else we need to know? Jen? No waiver requests?
Nope.
And your recommendation is for a -3 with conditions?
A positive 2A to approve the delineation, because he did have the site delineated, and a negative number 3 with a pre-construction meeting where you would stake out the pool, so that the pool company is aware of where the limit is, and a post-construction inspection, and 2 wetland markers on the fence.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? None? Any abutters want to be heard? No abutters answer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. All set.
Thank you.
430 Osgood Street, North Andover High School, Gale Associates.
So I don't know, do you want to take the COC, the partial COC request for these 2 fields out of order?
Do we need to do the COC first?
Well, technically, when I had a discussion with you
Okay,
about this
I got
before,
you. Yep.
you wanted that first.
I remember now. Okay, we will take it. I'm looking for it. Okay, so 242-1045, which is looking for a PCOC. Why don't we hear that now if they're here?
Yep.
Under general business, 242-1045. It's a PCOC request for 430 Osgood Street, North
right.
Andover High School.
So this is for the 2 fields. One is the turf field, the main turf field, the football field, so to speak, and then with the grandstand and all that along Kachikawick Brook. And then the other is the track field, which is located up by the new fire station. On both these requests, it would only be, the PCOC is only for the location of those fields, nothing else, because there's parking lot drainage under them, there's all sorts of things around them. So we're just talking about the PCOC request is specific to the construction of the fields in the locations shown.
All right. Evening. Do you have anything to offer on your PCOC request? Anything we need to know?
I'm Peter Skousen with Gale Associates.
Hi.
So, like Jennifer said, we are looking for the, within the footprint of the fields themselves, we tracked down more of the record information as much as we could put together, and what you see there, the drainage system, you see a little rectangle within the field footprint. That's a detention system that does not connect to anything inside the synthetic turf field. That's from upstream, from the parking lot or from the school.
Right.
Tracking down the original history when the older school was in this footprint with the parking lot. The outlet pipe you see there is an existing 30-inch pipe that was predates, they just tied back into it. Looking at some records and trying to track down the original installer of the turf field, we confirmed that there's no subsurface drainage system of the turf field that connects to that at all. The turf field relies solely on the void space of the free draining stone underneath the carpet and then infiltration. That's the only way.
There's no outfall anywhere connected with it?
Yeah,
No.
that's what we were worried about. We thought we saw those outfalls coming from under the field, and they're not.
No, there's no under drain system. That's just it's good draining soil, and it was the sheer mass of it.
Well, we were all on the commission when that got constructed, and that's the way I remember it. That was the sales pitch.
Track, you mean?
The track where the football field is, we're talking?
That was the other one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the photo.
You're at a different one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Okay.
originally talking about this one that has the infiltrator on it.
Yeah, the lower fields, correct.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then on the upper field with the track, the only thing we've asked them to add to this plan, again, you're just certifying that in relation to the wetland, the track and everything that was constructed within that footprint is in the proper location. But we did ask them to add, there was supposed to be a retaining wall and a drainage swale along as you look at the right end of the track, correct?
Yeah, toward the
Yeah.
D area, toward where the fire station is now.
Where-
Right.
That originally had some type of retaining wall, and then
They just
they
rip-wrapped it.
engineered out and put a rip-wrap slope there. So we
It
reflect
does,
that
it does,
accordingly.
did you send us a revised plan, or you brought a
No, I
revised
brought
plan? Okay, so we have that on the revised plan.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, inside the footprint of the track and the field, it all drains from outside edge to inside edge, and it goes on the way it shows here.
Sean?
Don't have any questions.
Deb?
All set.
My question, Jen, is of you. So typically in a matter like this, where it's a compliance, a partial certificate, we rely upon your observations in the field. We've all seen this place operate since it was built, and I don't think anybody's ever noted anything remarkable in the adverse. Would you be inclined to agree that everything appears to be working?
Yep, Kale and I went to the site. Everything appears to be exactly as was proposed. More so on the interior of the track, you can, as they're going to talk about next, you can tell that it has lived its life. There's actually records, there's the maintenance in the file says every 15 years these things will need to be replaced. The only thing I would note on the PCOC is, per our discussion when we talked about this the first time, is we'd like to see the full COC on the high school, and I think we should probably add a condition that, within a year,
Yeah.
June 30th, 2018, we will see that full COC.
I'm happy to see that condition. I just, at the same time, do we have a point of contact that we can work with between now and then to facilitate that?
Yeah, Mr. Mealy and I have been working together to
Continue
do
to be
that.
the POC?
Yes,
On that?
exactly. And I've already reached out to Janesco, and they're helping us
All right.
conclude that as well.
I think that's the best way to do it. All right. Anybody?
So this notice of intent was under a project for the entire school originally?
This was an amendment to the entire school
Amendment.
project, yep.
So what does the PCOC get anybody?
We're allowing them to replace
Gets
these
them a new
fields.
permit.
All right.
They want a new
It allows-
permit.
Yeah, that's it. So there's no bond release.
No,
There's
nothing.
just the opportunity to file to do the maintenance work they want to do on the track.
They want to do a new job,
Okay.
and Jen said, close out the old. Any neighbors, abutters? None answer, for the record. We're ready to move.
I move that we grant the PCOC request for 2421045 430 Osgood Street.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. So that PCOC is granted as requested. Then why don't we move right to the RDA that's in front of us? And
So-
Jen, who wants to go first on this one?
Well, I'll just briefly say you have pretty much the same as-built plans in front of you, and then, as you see here, you have the proposed work, and I'll let Gale Associates present that to you.
Right, so again, like I said before, the essence of this project is that the carpet has reached the end of its useful life. It's borderline being a safety issue. Time has come to be replaced. So the limit of work is essentially the perimeter fence circumscribes the carpet itself. We took count of where they would be accessing from, kind of on the area where the baseball field is. We're calling out some erosion control measures along the down gradient slope and putting in a stabilized entrance. And then the majority of it is they're going to go to the site. They have their special machines where they're going to cut up the carpet in strips. They're going to try to reclaim as much as that infill as possible to be able to be reused. Roll up the old carpet, put it in trucks and haul it out. They're going to re-laser grade it to be at a 0.5% slope, just the way it was originally built, and then lay down the new carpet. That's it in a nutshell.
And which fields is this specific to? Both? The
Oh, this is gonna be
track
both
field,
fields, yes.
The north and the south? and
Yeah,
west
the
is
bids
going
came in favorable enough, so, because they were both built around the same time.
Yep.
And they've seen a lot of use. So the bids came in favorable enough to be able to do.
on? And how
you
old
know,
are they respectively?
2004, right?
2003, 2004, right? Around there.
Each? Okay, thanks.
The track is 1 year newer, but it's at an angle where it received the most sun, I would imagine. The way these things break down is through use
Yep.
and through UV light. It's plastic, so it's kind of aged faster, if you will.
Thanks.
All right. Yep. Jen, anything else you want us to know before we?
Will you be stockpiling any material on the site?
The stockpiling material, they're going to come in bags and totes. If they need to bring rubber or the carpet rolls will come, and they usually will work with Jim about trying to reserve a spot in the parking lot where they'll stage and then bring it up to the fields.
So,
They're not going to be like disturbing lawn or grass or anything
yeah,
like
I
that.
think it says somewhere in the plan notes that there wouldn't be any stockpiling in the buffer zone, so I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely not, no.
All right.
Just a quick question, how long is this gonna take, the project?
It's a summer slam project that it has to be done
Yeah,
for
start of school.
Right. So, by the time school closes and reopens, it's gonna be all done?
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Ready to move it, guys?
Okay, so I will try to move it, but I do notice in the recommendations that there's, part of it is that a COC be required by June 30th, 2018.
Well, we put that in the, yeah, that's what we want that in this permit, that the.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's going to be part of this motion.
So, that, yeah, we had mentioned, that's why I asked if we had a liaison contact person so that
Yep.
we can make sure that actually does happen.
Okay. So I move that we find a -2 and 3 for work in riverfront and buffer zone with conditions for pre- and post-construction inspections, as well as a requirement of a COC by June 30th, 2018 for 430 Osgood Street.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Hillside Road, Columbia Gas, Merrill Engineers and Surveyors.
In the future, guys, with your filings, we allow certificates of mailing, so you don't have to do all the. That's okay. Save us both the money. Thank you. Excellent.
Jen, did you require Hillside to be here, or are you gonna?
Columbia Gas, they should be here. No issue
So,
with Columbia Gas?
well, when they get here, we'll get back to them. We're gonna bump ahead. We're gonna go to the abbreviated notice of resource area delineations. Columbia Gas can be put on hold. We're gonna go to 242-1704, 189 Willow Street.
Request to continue.
Request to continue to June 28th, 2017.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that stands continued. Notice of intents, 242-1700, 203 Katuitt Street, North Environmental, continued from May 24th.
Hi, good evening.
Oh, wait.
My name is Bob Douglas. I'm representing the Duchamp family, 203 Katuitt Street. As you may recall, I was enforcement order issued. This plan is part of the required filing in order to take care of that. Mr. Duchamp is proposing to build a pool associated with the house, a deck, a retaining wall, and a barbecue, a fire pit. As mitigation, he's proposing to remove a shed, dismantle it, and remove it from the site, as well as put in a 10-foot planting area along the resource area.
So you do have an alternatives analysis in front of you, because this is requesting a waiver. I also have printed.
I'm not seeing them.
I don't,
Yeah. I don't think we have an alternative here, Jim. I'm looking for it.
I'm sorry, I haven't copied it, but it was in the online packet. But here's this is my map showing the pool that was there previously. I don't know if I've been presented at the last. It doesn't show up on the 1990s aerial, but it is there on the 2001 aerials. So sometime between mid-1990s and 2001, it was constructed. There are no records of building permits or anything. It's not quite as shocking as you would think. The pool next door has been there even longer, also adjacent to the resource area. Not that that means anything. From the last time you've seen this, the pool was shrunk from quite a larger size. It was 24 by 30. It's now 16 by 30, so they pulled it away from what they previously proposed. It's all outside of the no disturb zone. Right now, the backyard goes right up to the edge of the wetland. They're proposing to put in a buffer zone, which would be, I'm assuming you would require to be monumented. And I guess the only portion of it that I thought is probably not approvable, given what you had told me advice-wise on this in the past, was that the retaining wall goes into the no disturb zone, which I
can speak to that.
okay.
I did have a chance to discuss that with Dennis, and right now, as you can see from this plan, the retaining wall ventures into the 25-foot no disturb. We can cut the wall right at that 25-foot line and allow this to be lawn without the structure. Right now, there's a drop-off, an earthen drop-off of 2-to-1 slope, and we could just have that seeded. We wouldn't need a retaining wall for that portion.
So that would solve the encroachment into the no disturb, is that?
Correct, yeah, the 25 foot, so we could X out that part.
Okay, so that's one issue now. You're still looking for a waiver?
Yes, as the photo shows, the historic photo, the pool used to be closer to the BVW. we're looking to build it outside of the 25-foot no disturb, but we would need a waiver for working in the 50-foot zone. We've shrunk the size of it, we moved it further away from the resource area, closer to the house, immediately adjacent to the patio.
I haven't had a chance to fully look over your alternatives analysis. There's no way to get it outside outside the 50?
Yeah, we looked at that, and as you know, there's a setback, a side setback for the home, and really just for, there's not enough room on this side, and for privacy reasons, it's just really exposed to the road, so that's really the best place for it to go. We're not allowed to have a pool in the front yard, not that that would be desirable. This is a use that the house has been in for many decades. It's had a pool back there.
It was an above-ground pool,
It
right?
wasn't absolutely right. It
It's
was
a
an above-ground pool.
significant difference, I
We're
think.
looking to move it further away from the resource area than what had been previous.
Is it possible to put it on the side, as you mentioned, although not desirable?
Yeah, there is a side setback required by the town. It just, it just would not be a good location for it. The Sham family has had this property for a long time, and they would really like to make the use of the backyard and to have a pool back behind the house.
Well, I appreciate that part. I appreciate that. It's just the standard to get a waiver is a really, really very high standard. I don't have any other questions. Thanks.
The other problem, I don't know if it's a problem, it's a point of discussion, is as part of your alternatives analysis, citing a previous use with a pool that we're unable to detect a permit for. That's kind of an issue. You're saying we had one, we get it. Historically, there was a pool there, we get it, but it appears it just that must have got constructed. So that's kind of an issue when you're looking for relief. Is there any chance you have any records anywhere that the town might have lost or misplaced?
That I can't speak to.
Are you talking about the above ground pool that was there?
Yeah.
There was a permit right in your records.
Well,
me.
we're actually unable to locate that. If you can help with that, that would be a real home run.
They showed it to me. I've been here before.
We can look for that. I didn't present this to you the first time Heidi did. She was
Yeah.
here, so
Okay.
I can look for that permit. If it was a building permit, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, so we can assume for the moment that the applicant's testimony can be validated with that there was a pool that was there. I know that makes a difference to me. I don't know about anybody else. Deb, I'll skip to you.
I don't have any questions.
Doug? Nothing?
Here we go.
So- Jen,
Yeah, no, it's in here.
you have it?
Within 25 feet of BVW stream, but not likely to, oh yeah, you do remember this one.
So,
I remember Heidi pointing this out to me. It was signed off on because it was an above-ground pool and within an existing fence.
yeah, I'm starting to get my memory back on it a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
remember now that Heidi had showed that to me.
All right, so,
So it was allowed.
okay. That clears it up.
Thank you for that.
Yep, appreciate that, guys. So how much relief do you need from the 50? How much you asking for?
Well, they're entirely between the 25 and the 50.
So entirely, so look, they did the whole thing.
They need a waiver of the no-build
But the
zone.
previous pool was in that,
Was in
was
that-
in the same area.
Was
What's the-
even
what's the-
farther back.
What's the, understood, so they brought this pool forward further away from the resource area than the above ground was, right?
Right.
Um,
So this would also, you propose a cartridge style, the non-backwashing type filter? That's,
Yeah, that could be conditioned if that's
Okay.
the condition's desired.
All right, so the only thing we're missing now is an area showing mitigation.
no, they
Right.
have it.
Oh, you have it?
So that's this green strip. that I-
Excuse me one second, is there any way we can put that shade down? I'm getting annihilated with the sun here.
Yep.
See if I can get you. How's that?
Yeah, that's good. If you want to stand there for the next hour, we'll get you a free glass of water. No, actually, it's that one.
It's already down. Yeah, they're already
Yeah,
down.
We don't, there's nothing else, we don't have anything else that'll
That's
do
as
that.
good as we get.
All right, you stand there. All right. So the mitigation is shown, Jen? You're satisfied with the mitigation?
Yep, they have a list of plants in the narrative that Sean has, that's, they're all native.
All right, so do they need to do anything else to close?
No, I mean, we need to vote on you need to vote on a waiver.
Well, I guess I'll call it. First order of business is to consider their waiver request. The waiver request is part of the alternatives analysis and the fact that there was a pool there before. All those in favor of granting the waiver signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
So it's 2-1, I don't have to vote, so you get your waiver. So, with that being said, now that the waiver has been granted, is there anything else that needs to be?
Who moved that? Did Deb move that? We should put it down the record as far as who moved it.
Okay, so
Seconded.
Okay.
Doug?
Yep.
Agreed. All right, so
Thank you, Sean.
Deb and Doug moved it, and Deb and Doug voted for it. I did not vote because there was not a tie. Under Robert's rules, I won't vote unless there is a tie. So the waiver has been granted. Okay. What do you need next, Jen?
Motion to close an issue, I'll draft.
Are you ready for us to close? Do you have anything else you want to offer?
I would also like
Well, we should get the revised plan showing the wall out of the 25.
Sure, absolutely. And we'd like the enforcement order lifted as well.
I think we'll do that
Yeah.
when you get a permit to.
Yeah, wait, yeah, let us, procedurally, we'd like to close it, issue an order of conditions, and then at the last point, that'll go away. It'll be a function.
Very good.
It'll just go away.
Good.
It won't be anything that stays with them. It's not like getting a ticket and having the registry chase you for 20 years. Okay? All right,
Close an issue in 21 days, and you'll get me the revised
Yep,
plan.
I'll get you that this week.
hold on, let me get a motion going here.
Yep. Though on further discussion, so how far away is the fence going to be from the wetland?
The pool fence?
Yes.
We have the pool listed as 28.4 feet, and I think the fence is just next to it, so I would say 26 feet.
Okay. And the area beyond that fence, what's the plan for that area?
This has historically been and will currently be a lawn area, and then there will be a vegetated area 10 feet adjacent to the resource area.
Okay, so what you have in green there is from the edge of the resource area 10 feet out.
10 feet forward.
Towards the house.
Toward the house, correct.
Are there going to be any markers? Is there going to be anything else as far
I
as a
would
barrier?
condition that there be post and markers out there.
We proposed posts with birdhouses on the pair, and we'll, if the commission wants, we'd be happy to do that.
Well, we just have the wetland markers. You can put birdhouses on them too, but
Yeah,
we
we
require
won't
wetland
discourage you from
markers.
putting birdhouses, we just want wetland markers out there.
Oh, very good.
We just want to leave it.
Yeah, and we can, we permanently memorialize that one.
Any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion to close an issue in 21 days.
So moved.
Discussion? None. Abutters, any abutters for this that want to be heard now? No abutters answer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. You're all set.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your help with the Sunday.
Thank you.
Okay, 242, no number, Zero Ray Pond, 224 French Farm Road, am I reading that right?
Yes.
Okay. DPW?
Epsilon, oh, you are here. Okay. So we went out today to review the wetland line on this. There's a small isolated E series, which may or may not be jurisdictional. No measurements were done on it, but I think it Kayla and I thought it extended into the right-of-way, which might make it a little bit bigger, but they're just using the right-of-way for access as they've done in the past when they did the sewer, raised the sewer manholes and all that. So they'll just put something over it when they're tracking vehicles out there. But other than that, the delineation was fine. You know, this is just as a little bit of background. When you permitted 1210 Osgood to be the mixed-use commercial residential development, the one that backs up to the airport, the big one, that requires additional capacity in the sewer. So the applicant for that project will be paying for this improvement that the town will do on French Farm and in that right-of-way.
Okay, so that's what this is?
That's what this is.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Hello, I'm Rihanna Summers from Epsilon Associates. As you know, I'm here on behalf of the Town of North Andover's Division of Public Works, the DPW, and Princeton Development. And so a little bit of background, this is a joint, so it's the two applicants are working together on this. You might recall that the Princeton Development proposed a mixed-use development project off of Osgood Road across the street, sort of from French Farm. And this is kind of a continuation, well, not a continuation, but they're in need of sewer repair work in order for this development project. And so they're working with the town in order to propose sewer repair in 2 locations. So just a little bit of housekeeping. I have the proof of mailing to abutters. And the northern part of one of these repair locations is actually in mapped natural heritage habitat. So I also have a proof of mailing to Natural Heritage. But there's no DEP file number yet, and Natural Heritage we haven't received comment from them, so we're still waiting on that. And I'm here on behalf of my colleague, Mike Howard, who took the lead actually on this NOI, but he has a conflicting meeting tonight, so he wasn't able to make it. So I'll be talking on behalf of him. So just a little bit of background. This project, there are 2 locations off of French Farm Road where some sewer repair line work is proposed. One of them is off of Old Farm Road, or not off of, but within Old Farm Road up here. And this location is completely outside of the buffer zone, outside of resource areas. All of the road will take place within the existing paved area. And then the second sewer line repair location is located behind French Farm Road, so back here, right off of the end of that cul-de-sac. And that second repair location, the one that I'll be talking about, is within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW and also within the 100-year floodplain. So, and the purpose of this is just to replace the existing sewer line with a larger diameter pipe just to better handle existing and future connections into the system. So this figure here, there's kind of a lot going on, but it's basically showing Mike and I went out to the site and delineated the resource areas behind French Farm Road. And in green is the forested BV. So there's an intermittent stream that runs south along here from a wooded swamp up here. And the stream flows down into Ray's Pond and eventually discharges into Lake Cochicwick. And off of the western side of that stream bank is a forested BVW that we delineated, and that's in green. And as you can see, that extends down to the pond. And the buffer zones are shown, the setbacks, the commission's 25-foot and 50-foot setbacks are shown there in red and orange. And then the blue is the 100-foot buffer zone. And yeah, so the purple is the BLSF. And then also there's kind of like a nature trail that's part of a town-owned easement, which exists basically paralleling the stream along here. And that's how the access to the site will be from. So specifically, the work within this area, these are the 2 manholes, and the work will take place within the sewer line in between the within the 100-foot buffer zone. And it's an approximately 180-foot-long section of pipe that's proposed for replacement. And the work zone will be approximately 20 feet wide, centered over the trench, or the pipe. And the trench will be between about 12 and 15 feet deep. And the work will be conducted using standard open-cut trenching techniques. So the excavated material will be placed along the western side of the sewer line so that it's away from the wetlands. And they'll put erosion controls in the form of silt fence and compost filter tubes along the eastern side to protect the wetland and the stream. And after the pipe has been replaced, they'll put the material back into the trench, and then they'll stabilize it with a native seed mix. And if there's any excess material, it will be removed from the site. In the event that there's dewatering necessary, they'll either pump the water into a sediment filter bag or use a settling basin, and they would place that within an upland area. And looking at this figure, it looks like they could easily put that outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, somewhere within the easement. And they would surround it with more erosion controls, straw bales, and silt fence. And in terms of BLSF, there won't be any loss of flood storage because the existing grades will all be maintained. Access to the site will be within that existing easement along that path. Starting down here, there's a pump station at Ray's Pond, right off of Great Pond Road. And they'll bring the equipment in and follow basically that path. The path is relatively clear vegetation, but there might be some minor clearing or trimming of saplings and shrubs necessary, which will be all within the 100-foot buffer zone. There's also, as Jen mentioned, there's also a small IVW, which is Series E. It's very small on the scale, but it's down here just off of, and it actually extends into the easement. When we delineated it, we calculated the area to be 460 square feet. So we were thinking it's too small to be jurisdictional. But then when Jen went back out, they extended the line a bit onto the easement. So it would be a little bit bigger.
It might still be less than 1,000, but they said you can explain what they're going to protect it.
Yeah, so they're going to try to avoid it with the equipment. It's all herbaceous vegetation, skunk cabbage, impatiens, and they're proposing to put composite matting over it, so like a lightweight plastic mat to protect the wetland. And then obviously they'll try to avoid that area as much as possible and not drive over it if they can. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So no alterations to BBW or bank proposed, no work within the setbacks, and no loss of flood storage. But yeah, I don't know. I know, Jen, you were out at the site with, I think, Mike and the DPW.
Yep. So we scoped this out back in March, just talking about access and those sorts of things. But I think the notice of intent covers all of that. We will have to continue both for that DEP file number and for natural heritage to comment.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have.
All right, so let me do this. We're not going to be able to, we're going to have to continue anyway. So are there
Right.
any abutters here for this project? Any neighbors? Do you have any questions you want to ask? If you wouldn't mind, you can either go to the podium or sit at the table, just so we can have you on record.
Just identify who you are. And
Yeah, we just need your name and address and just ask away.
Sure, Allison McMillan, 224 French Farm Road. You will be in my backyard. I'll make coffee for you. What is the time frame that you're going to do this in?
No, I wish I had the answer for you. I want to say about a week. Do you know?
total amount of work, I think they said 1 to 2 weeks when we were out
Okay,
there.
yeah.
And what is the date that you'll be doing?
That I don't know either.
I
I'd
think
have-
they intend to do it this summer.
Yeah,
But again, they'll have to mobilize, there'll be a pre-construction meeting out there. So I know, are you the end of the road?
Yes, that's my house. You'll be in my yard.
Right.
Well, not in my yard.
Yeah, right.
It slopes way down. I mean, it's
Right, and they're not coming in off of French Farm, they're coming
Right.
in off the other way. So they will be down there, but they won't be using the cul-de-sac for any purpose, as far as I know. So, but I know someone's reached out, I know someone, are you,
I actually did not receive a letter. I found out today from a neighbor. So I'm not sure when the letters were sent out. I understand they were sent certified. I didn't receive one. I don't
it
know.
will return, were they sent return receipt? Did they have to sign
yeah,
for
they
them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
what I
should.
heard. So I don't know if the postman did reach us, or we were away on vacation and our mail held. I don't know. if
Right,
it was
so-
misplaced in it.
So give your information to the applicant, and they can add you to the list for in case.
Well, I'm sure they're on the list. I'm sure it's just a matter of,
Have you been there less than a year?
Oh, no.
You've been there a while?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. 16, 17 years.
And your backyard backs up to the
Yeah.
project?
Yes, yeah, my concerns would just lie upon the fact that there's lots of little children, and how will you secure the area when
Right,
you're not
of
there
course.
working on it, if it's a 16-foot trench?
they're not
Lots of
gonna
small kids
leave
in
the
it.
trench open, is my
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah, it won't be left open, unoccupied. So whenever they're not working on it, the trench will be closed out and
Okay.
covered, yeah. So, that shouldn't be an issue. But in terms of not getting the mailing, I apologize, you didn't get it. It's, what's your address? What's the number?
224.
224.
We'll make sure that you're in the loop,
Okay, thank you.
especially since
That's all.
you live next door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll know when you're there.
Oh, you know why? Because you are part of the subject property.
Oh.
So you're listed as, they may actually
That
be
might
on a
help.
portion of your, see, these are the map and parcels they put in to generate the list. And
Okay.
these are all the people who got notified as a result. So that's why.
Because it's a part of it's on her property, there's an easement to use.
I'm not quite sure why
There-
it was
But
done
why
this
wouldn't I
way.
still be notified? I mean, it's my property. I would
Right.
think that even if
Right.
you have an easement, that it's.
Yeah, no, we
that I still should-
we agree with you, so we'll make sure that,
Yeah, I'll talk to Mike tomorrow
Okay,
and figure out how
yeah.
that happened.
just
Yeah,
make sure they
sorry
get
for
it.
the
We just
confusion.
add them to it.
And then just a quick question, what's the distance that you're going to be doing this
It's
trench?
180 feet.
180 feet?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all my questions.
All right, thank you. Thanks. Anybody else? Any other abutters? No? Okay, so,
Move to continue.
Second.
motion and a second to continue. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. We stand continued.
Okay.
Is it 2 weeks, Jen?
Yes, 28th.
Great, okay.
2 weeks from tonight,
Thank you.
same bat time. Jen can do that. Jen can do that for sure. All right, that's it.
A lot of stuff, different projects.
Yeah, take a minute and figure out what you need back. Whatever you need back for this part, you guys. All right.
Do you want to ask about Columbia Gas again? Anyone?
Is anybody from Columbia Gas here? Yet? No?
No, okay.
They don't answer, so we'll continue to
Keep
skip it.
going, okay.
We're going to take it in order. Would be enforcement orders violations, 202 Marlbridge Road, continued from May 24th.
So you should have in front of you
Yeah,
Mr. West's report
yeah.
and restoration plan, as well as the photos of the work that was done and the erosion control that was subsequently installed. Take it away.
Oh, we're ready?
It's you.
Mark
Good
West,
evening.
welcome back.
Good to see you.
Good to
I
see
didn't even
you.
know how to get up the stairs.
It's a learned skill, Mark. You just got to make your way around.
So, this is Paul Polano, and he just bought the house?
Yes.
Okay. And so what I did is, when I went out there, what they were doing is, a lot of what they were clearing was bittersweet.
Right.
If you look at more of the pictures, there's actually, there's all the vines going up the tree. So it's literally killing all starting to kill the red maples growing along there. There's nice big woodland along this stream channel. So what I've designed is buffer plantings and also heavy mulch on top of the ground in that buffer, so the vines and invasives can't all come right back up.
Okay.
The planting scheme includes 42 shrubs, and they're all native species except rhododendron, and one of them is a native rhododendron, the other one, he can have some color. Mr. Polano would like to put up a fence, and he was doing a lot of cleanup for a dog that he has. So he would like to put up a fence, and we can come back for that. But in this case, what we're proposing is the entire buffer, which isn't lawn, wasn't previously lawn, be restored with shrub plantings. Can you slide down to or go up one picture? Yeah, this is perfect. So, I guess it might be hard to see. I put yellow stakes out there so you can see they're about 7 or 8 feet into the buffer. So that's the area that will be planted. Rather than put up posts, he'd like to be able to put a fence as far away as you guys require, if it has to be outside the 25 foot. And he'd like to have a fence on that side and then a privacy fence away from the wetland. The shrubs will be all planted. There's also a bridge in the background. Is there a bridge picture? I think you can sort of see a red one. There's the big vine. They're like huge. This is looking back to the house. So again, you can see that entire area around that tree is all going to be mulch and shrubs. The next one might show. There's a shed that's in the buffer zone now, but has been for a while. And Jennifer indicated, so in the future he might reside it or whatever. But in this part of the site, because it's already lawn, the fence would go along where that erosion control is, and it would protect the wetland. And the signs could be put on the fence.
So generally speaking, our RDA, if you want it in the 25, right? If you keep it outside the 25, then it can be a small project. But if you go in the 25, and I'm not saying it's not inappropriate here, this is an existing yard. You look at historic aerials, nothing about this yard has, up until the clearing, has changed. It's been like it was forever. That shed has been out there the whole time. I think it just predates all regulation.
Okay. So what are you looking for? Let's keep this simple.
So this was an enforcement order.
Yeah,
So
got it.
what came out of Mark going out there was a wetland delineation and a restoration plan.
Okay, so that satisfies
Which
the EO.
I'm willing to accept. I mean, if you want to require the fence as part of this, I suppose you could do that as part of the enforcement order, because that would be your permanent monumentation. But I think we need to have some discussion about where you want it.
Well, I don't know if we want to do it as part of the EO, or do we want it to come in as part of an IDA? What would you rather see?
Just one question, Jen. What was done that made this part of enforcement? Or what was cleared and how far away from the wetland did it extend?
Some of the clearing, as you go closer to the road, is almost right up to the wetland. But when I went there, literally all the piles on the site were big piles of just stuff they had pulled out. I didn't see any mature trees cut down. I didn't see any stumps. I don't know, Mark, if you saw any.
There were some shrubs. A lot of it is honeysuckle, invasive honeysuckle. So it was really dense, and they just wanted to clean it up. You're looking at the closest place to the wetland in that picture.
Yep.
That's where the lawn's closest, and they cleared right at the edge of the lawn, and that was as close as, I think in my report I said, 4 to 6 feet. And then the other areas, they're only impacting the outer 5 feet of the 25. And some places where they cleared, they're outside the 25. So, yeah, there's an example there. So they're like, the stake is 3 feet on the side. So most of what they cleared was outside the 25-foot buffer in that case. And there's still big trees all along the buffer, except that one little close spot where the shed is.
That flag we looked at, what was the distance to the wetland? 25? Was that the 25-foot flag?
The 25-foot, all the
That's the-
yellow flags were 25-foot buffers.
Okay.
But
So
then-
it was all staked. So in this case, if you go down there, you can see the 25-foot buffer comes all the way to the other side. So that's the closest place where there was disturbance,
Yep.
but it was already there. It was just, they disturbed like 5 feet of shrubs. And this restoration plan with the natives will fill in, some of these will grow, 10 to 20 feet tall, but they're all native and they'll compete with all these invasives. And by putting the mulch down, it'll prevent the invasives. And they're gonna wanna know what bittersweet is so they can manage it. It's one of the hardest species to get rid of. But if you don't take it off the trees, they'll kill it.
You gotta pull it out when it's young.
You gotta pull a lot, though. I've done a lot of that.
All right, Sean?
Sure, it'd be great to have, I mean, if the applicant's prepared to do it, fence as part of the enforcement order would be preferential.
But we would want to see a plan of where they intend to put it.
Is that what you'd like to do? Would you guys want us to just deal with the enforcement
Whatever
order?
is best for you, but easier is better for us. We don't mind. I've made a picture of it.
Are you prepared to
I can talk about it,
talk about it? Do it fast, though.
but I'll do it fast. Do I do it up here?
Do it right there, Mark.
We'll just give them the plan.
Mark, we
then,
need
so-
you on
Okay.
TV, so
You'll see in yellow. Oh, I didn't know what you were looking at.
No, he's on TV, wherever he is.
wherever
and the
he goes,
mic's-
are you tracking him,
yeah.
Mr.? Yeah,
So
okay.
you can see if you go to the map that's already there,
Yeah.
Jennifer, if you can go to the map right there, I think I have it. If you look at that disturbance area, there's going to be a fence in yellow in that map that is a privacy fence. There was a fence there, but it was overgrown. They're building a fence on the lowest part of the picture there. They're going to 25 feet. They're stopping at that intersection. They're putting a little bit of 25 feet on the very back. Again, that is going to be a vinyl privacy fence. Then after that, it's going to be chain link all along that side until it hits the little building that I did put on that, the little shed. And then the rest of that, he's going to do a privacy fence out to the road. So the chain link is nice because he'll be able to see all those shrubs he paid for and are all flowering in there. So that was his plan. And we can make sure we can stake it, Jennifer can check it, whatever you want, and we'll put it outside the 25 foot, and then we'll put the signs up on it.
So outside the 25 foot, except by the shed.
Yes.
What's it gonna do with the shed?
Would it come into the building itself, or go behind it, or how would you do that?
I thought you were gonna stop it. Oh, if you want it, maybe that's where you can go in.
It's for a dog, you said, right? Did I hear that
Yeah,
at some point?
but I still would like to be able to access the shed without having to put a gate in front of it.
Yep.
You know, so if I could get it maybe just right behind the shed.
And that's where it'll change from chain link to the other. And if you look at the bottom of that picture, there's a white pipe. That is a foundation drain or whatever, and we would like to either cut it there so it's not sticking out of the ground, or bury it there. All that is previously disturbed area. All he did was take down all the vines.
Is it draining, though? Is it working?
I don't think so, no. There's a crack in it by the house, so.
Your
I
basement's
see it.
dry, though, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably working.
So it could be cut there, whatever, it just doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
That's from the gutters. It comes out through the gutters.
Yeah.
And there's a crack by the house where the gutters are, so it's not running out.
Okay. We're going on the line here. Doug, what would you like to see? Anything? Nothing?
No, not really.
You got any thoughts on the location, any idea on the location of the fence? He wants to run it along the silt line.
Well, no, he wants to run it outside 25 feet from the wetland until it reaches, and that flag that we're looking at there, how far is that from the wetland?
The one
That's 25 feet,
That's
so
25
this is the
feet right
stretch
there.
where it can't be.
Yep.
It's sort of in the middle of it,
But
where
that-
that chain link fence is gonna.
But the fence would fence off the shed.
Well, he wants it to come in and kind of make the shed part of the yard, right? So it's gonna come
Yes.
to the side on one side and pick up on the other
Yeah.
side.
Yes.
and then head back away,
Back
back out to the
outside the
25.
25.
Yeah,
I got you.
it's this little stretch here, it's maybe about a 50 to 60 foot stretch where the lawn was already well into the 25.
So,
So you're not gonna extend the fence behind the building, just up to the corners of the building?
It's your call.
I would say front corner, I mean, well, it may be his wants, but it's our call.
Okay,
In that respect.
I didn't know what he...
But my thought would be to try to keep it as far away from the wetlands as possible, so maybe bring it to the front corners of the shed. Does that sound reasonable, versus getting it to the back corner of the shed? and
It's a
getting that much
chain
closer?
link fence, right?
Yes.
Black chain
It's a
link,
chain
yeah.
link fence. I mean,
Just a 3 foot.
Makes any difference.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm kind of, I agree with Doug. I don't think it really, I don't think it's going to change the world from what I'm seeing.
It's probably easier for maintenance of the shed, that half the shed isn't in the fence and half the shed is out. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
that
gonna
way
be
you can
hard
do the
to,
siding.
yeah,
I
it'll be
think
hard to
it'll probably
maintain.
do a better job at protecting the resource area if we give him access to the shed. Other than that, he's got to move the shed, right? That's the only other alternative.
Right.
Well, no, I think either way, he's getting access to the shed. It's just, and you're right, I think it's immaterial whether it meets up with the front of the shed or the
I
back
mean,
of the
he
shed.
could follow the hay line for a bit and then come back out, turn back out, you know?
Right, well, he's gonna keep it out the whole way until he gets to there, and
Until
then
he
he's
gets
gonna
to the
do
shed,
almost
yeah.
a 90, right?
Something like that.
Like a 90-degree angle towards the shed?
I think it'll take some distance to
Yeah.
get it back out to the 25, just being the way, it isn't
Right.
gonna go right back
Right.
out to the 25.
Agreed.
But
All right, so what do we need them to do? Do they have to give you a proposal, a drawing, or is this presentation?
no, I think we can, I
you
can.
handle it all in the
Well, I'm
field?
gonna do it in the enforcement order.
It's
I'll
gonna be part of
condition
the
that the
yard.
fence be staked in the field prior to installation. We'll want it 6 inches off the ground for critter migration underneath.
Yeah, they're gonna migrate. He's got a dog. They're gonna migrate under the fence and get eaten.
Well, that's usually require that, so, but if you, do you
We
want
should
it
be-
6 inches off the ground or
I
not?
think we should put it right on the ground so the
On
critters have
ground.
a chance of not getting eaten by the dog.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think.
I don't know how big the dog is, and make sure the dog can't go under the fence.
Yeah.
Take his way under the fence.
Well, yeah.
All right, so I think I have enough information to, if you vote to amend the enforcement order to require all this to be done, and, I don't know, is the September 30th a date by which you can have it done, or September, whatever? I don't want to make you plant in the summer if you don't want to plant in the summer, so I'd say, you
No,
know,
let's get it done. Let's.
but we don't want him planting in July, which is pretty much his opportunity right now.
Well, because how long does it take the enforcement order to get issued?
Oh, like tomorrow or Friday?
Yeah, well, I
I'd rather
do
see it-
tons of plantings.
Yeah, I'd
I can
rather-
get him plants, and you can get a landscaper, and we can get going, right?
I'd
Okay.
prefer to see it get done right now. I
Okay,
don't want
so
to wait till
I'll
September.
say by July 15th it needs to be complete.
Can you-
Yeah, I'm just, the planting part,
Right.
and then the fence
Eh,
part.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to, these are enforcement orders, so we require things by date certain, so we can put them back on the
Okay,
agenda and say they're
So the planting can
done.
have a different date than the fence. They can
Okay.
have two different dates.
And fence by,
How much time do you need to get the fence in?
Labor Day?
By the end of July, should be good.
So we'll give them till Labor Day for the fence, just in case you hit a speed bump.
I'm just gonna say by September 1st.
Do
I don't
whatever
even
you
know when
want.
Labor Day is.
You can write anything you want, right? We have
And,
no control anyway.
And so, all right, staked in the field. And then how long on monitoring for the restoration area?
Your call. Your call.
1 year, so you'd make sure they make
Sure.
it through the winter and around to next spring and everybody leaves out and you'll replace any plants that die, kind of
Yeah,
thing?
So you're gonna get planting real quick, right?
yeah, I have, I do tons of it.
Yep.
They deliver, I just did a site in Haverhill the other day, wetland plants.
Yeah.
I get wholesale prices.
Attaboy. Attaboy, Mark. That's how to do it.
Yes, we have one last
No
question.
personal advertising.
There's piles of brush that stacked up that have been left in place.
Can you get that out of there now?
Can
But
he remove it
they've
now?
been, they were under cease and desist.
Yeah, yeah,
so-
yeah.
All right. All systems go.
What else? Anything else you need?
Nope, we're
All right,
good.
Good. Hold on. Jen, you good?
Yeah, you need
want us
to
to ratify this?
vote to issue a new enforcement order requiring everything we just talked about.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you for your time. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Mark. (1116) Great Pond Road, AC Landscaping.
So I went out, the house is for sale, they'd like the enforcement order to be lifted, so I conducted my second monitoring report out here. We conducted one after the plants were planted, and this was the second. Oh, I have photos. What I found was we're not quite at the survival rate we would hope for, which is usually 75%. We're maybe about 50. And there's invasives coming in, and invasive management was required, but these are all the photos. Quite a few of the shrubs are dead or not doing well. So Andy asked to be on the agenda this evening to discuss this with you.
Hi, Andy Redman, representing the previous owners of 1116 Great Pond Road. Jen did come out. That was a couple of weeks ago. And with all the rain we had, by the time she came out, we've had now several days of sun. I was been monitoring the area the past couple of weeks. And they're looking much better than what they did when Jen was out there. A lot of the leaves have come out. Out of the plants that we saw that day, we thought maybe 3 were not going to make it. And when I went back a few days later, 2 definitely were dead, and 1 still had leaves growing from it. So I went out and bought 3 new plants and planted them the other day. I took the 2 out that were dead and installed 2 new ones, well, 3 new ones, 2 for the ones that I took out, and the one that was, say, 25%, I trimmed it and I left it, and then I added another new plant for that as well. I did prune off all the dead branches from the other plants. So it is looking, I mean, I was out there today even, and the area looks great. I mean, it's flourishing with the grass and the wild growth that was there before this whole business started. I took some more pictures myself a week after Jennifer and I were there. And I also brought the old pictures of what the property looked like before the restoration started. So there's a pile of some old pictures, and here are some that were taken just a week ago. When I was in violation of what we did, I agree with all that, and we submitted a plan, and the plan was agreed on, and I've done pretty much everything that we were supposed to. Planting all the new plants, monitoring the area, and installing 5 stakes out for the no disturb zone. I rocked the area out, and I've stayed off the property for the last 2 years. I mean, from here on in, it's only going to get better. You can take a look at some of those pictures down by the lake. I mean, it's the new growth down by the water is absolutely coming in. And since Jennifer was out there, the previous owners have closed on the property. They sold it to Brooks School. And so they no longer live there. And I just think at this point, I would request that the committee submit the compliance letter with the agreement that AC Landscaping will continue to work with Jennifer and monitor the area. And if she has suggested we take a look at the area again in the fall time, I have no problem with that. I'm not going anywhere. I've been in town all my life. And I will, if anything else needs to be replaced, I will. I don't think it will, but if it does, Mother Nature has funny ways of doing things. But again, the area from here on moving forward is going to do nothing but just grow more. I mean, how can we hold these previous owners still in compliance for something that, it's really, they have no control over that at this point. And I don't think it's anything that any fines are going to be issued. It's just a matter of keeping an eye on the area and make sure that no one disturbs it. And, someone's there to maintain it, and I'm going to do that. So that's what I'm here to request. I mean.
So, Andy, what you're asking for is, your request is to lift the enforcement order that requires the monitoring, and you're saying lift it, and you'll continue to watch out for it anyway?
That's correct, and only because they no longer live there, and they had to put money into escrow until the compliance letter is issued.
Sure.
And I just, I'll stay responsible for this project. I have been since we started, And I've been in touch with Jennifer by email and pictures. And
Okay.
so again, it's going to continue to grow, and unless Brooks has other plans and they do any violations, I mean, it's going to do nothing but continue to grow and flourish down
Who
there.
owns the property now?
Brooks School,
Brooks, who owns it now? Okay.
who have hired me to maintain the lawn area and around the house area.
Okay.
So I'm still going to be on the property for the time being.
All right, let's see what people are thinking here.
Jen, how much is escrow?
Oh, this isn't us. That's
It's not with the town.
Oh, it's not with the town.
It's a private agreement.
Gotcha. I saw your recommendations. Have you seen the pictures that he recently took since your
No,
inspection?
I haven't been back out there. Bittersweet is a problem too. It's growing over some of the plants that you can see in the photos that I took. They were supposed to be managing for that, but
And I guess I did miss that part of it, because when I was cutting and clearing up some of the area, the bittersweet was half the reason why I was doing that, because they were killing the trees down there.
Yeah.
And I agree, the bittersweet is a problem, but again, you know, it's that Mother Nature. I mean, I'll monitor that if need be, but when I'm done with this, who's going to monitor it after that? I mean, it's going to happen.
So what's the intent? To let the grass just grow there and leave it, let it go?
Well, my original intent was to clear it so they had a better view of the water, but I guess
Right, but-
that was in violation.
but
So
yeah.
now it's staked off, and yes, all the wild
So
grass
the
and growth.
grass, everything you see here in this picture, it's just gonna be left to grow.
That's
Will
right.
not be touched,
It
never
can't be
mowed or
touched.
nothing.
That's correct.
So
Yeah.
then it'll go wild and whatever grows will
And whatever,
grow.
right, whatever comes in, comes in. All the poison
I don't see
ivy,
anything
all
wrong
the
with
all
that.
that stuff, yeah.
So
But I
let it
mean,
be.
there is more growth there now than it was before I even started the project to begin with.
Right.
up to you.
Those bushes will grow or not grow. Either that
So-
or
so-
the trees will come in.
So the question, what we're being asked to do basically is we're being asked to terminate the enforcement order, stating his position is he's done his job. And we get photographic evidence that would suggest that. We're not allowing him to cut. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. We said restore it and leave it alone and stay out of it. It appears that's what he's done. I don't know, I mean, I could be wrong. I understand the bittersweet, but we're telling him not to touch anything down there. So what's he supposed to do?
Well, it
problem
just
is
said he
that-
was supposed to manage for it, because it is growing over some of those
No,
new
I get it.
shrubs.
I understand, but I'm putting myself on the other side of the table here. You issue me an enforcement order telling me to restore it and then stay out of it.
Right.
I'm staying
But
out of it.
Normally in restoration areas, you manage the invasives so that your plants survive. And
Yeah.
you see in some of those photos, the plants have been overtaken by bittersweet.
So
It's
you're-
really in one corner of the property,
Yeah.
not the whole thing.
So can you do that without an enforcement order, Andy? I mean,
Sure, and again, since Jennifer and I were out there, I did go to, and I pulled back some of the growth going over the new
Right.
plants, and I did prune back. I left it as Mother Nature has had it grown before Jennifer came. I didn't go out there and prune anything. I just wanted to see how it was coming in, and there were some dead branches that needed to be pruned off, and there were a couple of plants that were definitely dead. I pulled them out, like I said. I installed new plants, and so again, I'll do whatever you need me
well,
to
let
do.
me just ask the question. Is it possible to replace the enforcement order with like a management plan that he could adhere to over the next year? A management plan that gives
We
him...
could just, we could release the enforcement order per se, and in the letter require that there be another inspection, next year at X time.
But are we telling him to go in there and cut bittersweet? Because we told him to go in there and do nothing.
What I want is the bittersweet off the new plantings. You're not
So
gonna
I
get new
think-
plantings to establish if you have bittersweet,
I think
grown
he's-
over and,
I think he's a little gun shy. That's why I'm saying, because
I was, because actually, when we were out there, you correct again on the plants, and I saw that, I agree. And then we looked at some of the trees that we left, that were still there, and the vines and the bittersweet are growing all over that. So you were kind of looking at that when you said bittersweet, and I said, whoa. I didn't think I was supposed to touch anything, but I understand about the plants. I can
plants,
definitely.
yeah.
All right, so let's see if we can do something that works here. So how can we make it work?
I can issue him the compliance letter and just say, as part of the ongoing maintenance, a monitoring report will be submitted, 1 year from the date of the compliance letter. If he doesn't submit it, technically we could issue another enforcement order again, but I don't think we'll have to do that. It's not a compliance issue. Again, We look for 75%
No, you want- we-
regrowth in
we
a
want some-
restoration area.
I
And
understand.
I didn't think we were there.
We're looking for survivability, I agree. It sounds like he's willing to do that, I think. Am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so,
One thing I did hear is, you don't think he's there on 75%, Judge?
Not when I was out there. Again, 3 plants were dead. There were probably 3 to 4 more that looked like they might leaf out, but they only had a couple leaves on them. It was earlier in the season, and it had been cold and rainy.
It
so-
was, and
And
it's-
he's saying things look different now, so.
They definitely do. And I went out there and pruned off some of the dead branches, and they have come out much more. They have.
Is it possible to continue this for 2 weeks? Let her go back out there and see if it meets the 75% based upon the representations that he's making in front of us?
you willing to go back out?
Sure.
Okay. 2 weeks.
That's fine.
All right, we're gonna, that's a good suggestion. Sean suggests we continue for 2, give Jen a chance to inspect. Come back, talk about it. Motion and a second to continue discussion. None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 2 weeks.
Great,
Okay.
thank you very much.
So just meet up with Jen at some point and do an on-site, and then come back and hopefully we can do it.
That'd be great.
All right,
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll be in touch by email?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay,
sounds
great.
awesome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 0 Elmwood Street.
So this is a new violation that I just issued. I did not issue it as an enforcement order, always giving applicants the opportunity to, present what's going on out there and give them the opportunity to rectify. And that's that. So once they receive the enforcement order, the owners, and I believe there are 7 of you, who have inherited the house. There was an old, there's 49 Elmwood, which is the house, and 0 Elmwood, which is across the street, which they also own. When it was being used somewhat as a home farm. In aerials over the years, you can see black plastic tarps down over there and that sort of thing. There was also a lot of remnant of carpeting, and which I guess was being used to keep down the weeds on the garden or around the garden. And then currently it's being used for some storage of some masonry supplies. So I don't know if you want to discuss the violation or.
We did not store.
Well, there's bricks and concrete and things also in one corner.
My brother went over there, because we're selling the land and the property. My brother has a John Deere excavator. So because we're selling the property, he went over there and he, with good intentions, wanted to rip up the rug and the vinyl out of there to make it look better. In the process, he disturbed that area. But we did not store any masonry or bricks there. That was not us. That was probably in the fill down below.
No, there's, right on the side of the property, there's a whole pile, a stack of bricks and cement blocks.
That's not our property. That's not 0 Elmwood.
That's on the corner there, of right
Yeah,
where
that's
the
not
disturbance
That's
was?
not 0 Elmwood. That's not my property.
Okay, there was a big stack of them. But anyway, the material that was,
So the bricks are off the table then?
that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying what the apparent use of the property appears to be. But, so, I think in an attempt to clean this up, he brought that excavator in there, but there is now fill material, which is full of cement and bricks, which goes down the slope and has buried the roots of several trees and is now sitting at the toe of the slope right at the edge of there's a pond back there that abuts the Shawshene River, as you can see on the aerials, and the fill is right there. So some kind of excavator is going to be needed to pull that material out, to re-expose those tree roots and to get back to the natural grade.
If you
And
see
then
that-
I think
if you
it
see that
just
pile
needs
of
to be
carpeting and vinyl
loamed
there,
and seeded.
If you see that pile there, Al, he went in with the excavator and he started dragging it back. And when he did that, he disturbed all that area on the right-hand side there. And that went over the side of the hill and started covering, what you're talking about, the trees.
I see it now, yeah, I see it.
But we never stored those bricks or anything there. That was not us.
So-
That's not my property.
Okay. So what would you like to do?
When I issued the violation letter, I told them to I had not been on the property, I just came to the end of the street because I hadn't been invited. There was no one there, there was a giant dumpster in the yard, but it had clear there had been disturbance. So I took some photos from the street and sent them the letter. After having been on the site, I think the best thing to do is have them put together a proposal of how they're going to get that material out of there. And, you know, it's going to have to leave the site. It can't stay. It's full of brick and concrete and all that kind of thing. There's also a giant brush dump pile at the end of the street. That has been an ongoing problem for many years, and I don't put the entire brush dump pile as their issue. I think the neighborhood's been using it
I was just going to say, you know, all those streets that go down to the Shawshene, Elmwood, Glenwood, whatever.
Right, but once again, there is
everything goes
now...
down- literally goes downhill, you know?
There's now brick and concrete and stuff on the top of that pile, which I think we should also get at least that non-biodegradable material out of there.
Okay.
And then we need some, you know, some loam and hydroseed because this is a steep slope.
All right, so it sounds like Jen just wants a cleanup.
Right, yeah. And my proposal would be, because my brother has this excavator, it's a John Deere excavator. He's been in the business, construction, heavy equipment for 40 years.
Yeah.
He insists that he can bring that fill up that went over the side of the hill
Yeah.
back to the original grade to the extent possible.
Yeah.
Drag out the concrete and the bricks that are in that stuff over there,
Yeah.
and then we'd have to reseed and loam.
Okay.
Now, the only question I would have on that is putting loam in there, because now we're filling more or less
Not in the
there.
brush dump.
I'm sorry?
Not in the brush dump area. I'm talking about the only place that needs loam and tackifier and seed is on your property, on 0 Elmwood.
So
And that's my question.
is
You
it
want me to
possible
bring?
for you to meet them on site before restoration?
I'm not an excavation specialist. You know, this needs to be cleaned
No,
up.
but they just need to know what, I think you guys need to agree on what the limit of work is, because it sounds like there's a neighborhood issue going on
There's
there.
no limit of
and you
work
can't put-
issue.
Can't put the whole neighborhood
For
issue
0
on that.
Elmwood. There's no neighborhood issue on the 0 Elmwood part. The fill on their property has gone down,
Yeah, it's two separate issues there.
Okay, all right, so
so they
I-
need to get it back to original grade. They need to get the junk out of it. It can't have bricks and concrete and all that kind
I
of
got it.
stuff in it.
I get-
And then the material itself may be good enough to loam and seed, but...
That would be my
but
only
if you
question.
would-
Should we bring fill in there to?
No, again, if you bring in material, you're gonna bring in like 6 inches and spread it over the top. Once you pull all that material back and you take that junk out of it, bringing in 6 inches of loam to put down on the top of it so your seed isn't gonna be fill. I mean, you're just gonna rake it out and put seed, you know, hydroseed, it's topsoil. Like you can get bags of it. We're not talking about a dump truck full.
Well, yeah, no, I want to be a dump truck, but my question is, because it's bordering the wetlands, why would I put more fill in there? If
It's
that
not
stuff-
fill. It's just something to
Well,
grow
I
grass
call
in.
it fill, but it's loam.
she wants it to vegetate and
I understand
and
that,
create a
and
base, anchor it down.
So if we raked all that stuff out and put seed down on top of that stuff, it would not?
I think what I want you to do first is get it back to existing
Right,
grade, and
yep.
then I need to inspect to make sure that they've gotten enough of the material out of there and that the junk's out of it.
Yep.
And then, you've talked about using some local landscapers that you know 2 of them.
And we did.
If you need it loamed and hydroseeded, then I think you could have that covered pretty
My
easily.
brother was supposed to be at that meeting, but he didn't, he made it late. And he insists, because he's been in the business for 40 years, and he has the tractor's there, it's actually working on 49 Elmwood across the street because he's doing work over there. But he says he has a rate for that he can do that himself. And if
What's
he
it
can't
gonna-
do that,
Is he gonna use a York rake?
it's probably a York rake, Al, but I'm not sure.
I mean, a York rake would work.
If he, and I submit to you guys, if he can't do that, we'll call you down to inspect it. And if we have to hire somebody, like we talked about before, one of the local contractors, that's what we have to do.
Yeah, and the other problem is that they really can't get erosion control in there. I mean, the slope is that steep, and it is the wetland right at the bottom, so.
I know the area well. I know the area very, very well. All of those roads that go down there. We had that exploding sewer on Glenwood and Highwood for years. Spent a lot of time down there.
Is it too steep, or is it even with the soil
pretty
and hydroseed, is it going to just erode down?
That's why I'm saying they
It's a
need
degraded-
hydroseeded
it's a degraded end of
with
the road.
tackifier, and hopefully they'll get some vegetation on
The
there.
trouble is, the street itself, the town public way, serves as a point source discharge during a heavy storm event.
Not in this location.
Not here?
No.
No, that was the other issue that we were talking about, the end of Elmwood Street, where somebody and it wasn't us, put bricks and cement and whatever over there.
Right, but I want them to get the bricks and cement out of there,
Which I've
since they
already-
have an
All right,
excavator.
so it sounds like they're willing to
Right,
do it. I'm not.
so I think because this work is so close, we have to issue an enforcement order requiring it,
Let
and
'em-
I'll
let 'em-
lay out the steps.
Sure,
And
okay.
we'll issue that to them, and then we just need a date certain when you think you can get it done by.
All right, so you'll get an enforcement order that acts as a permit, and it'll give you a schedule, all the description, everything you need. And just follow it. And just,
What's the date?
how much time do you need to do it? I mean, sooner is better, get it out of the way if you can.
Well, I heard you guys talking on a previous thing about grass coming back up and planting. You know what, I don't know.
So we're asking you how long you think you need.
So-
You can
see,
always
just
ask
to-
for an extension. We're going to start with a certain date, and if you need more time,
So
you can always
what
request.
you'd be the minimum you need to do is get the stuff out of there.
Right.
Get the loom down, get
Yeah.
seed on it, get it stabilized.
Well, I can't do that until you okay it, right? I don't want to put the seed down until you
You're not
okay
going to, you're going to call me out when you've got the stuff out of there to
When I
approve.
get the stuff out of there,
Right, so that, to
get
say
you
that you've
okay.
got enough out of there, and
Yeah.
then you can loam and
Right.
seed it.
So why don't we just take it in small steps here? Why don't we just, can you start by getting the stuff out of there in a couple weeks?
Yep.
All right, so we want to come back in 2 weeks and give us an update on what you did?
2 weeks? Yeah.
Is that okay?
Okay, yeah. I
2
can do
weeks,
that.
and you can tell us how you did removing everything, and then
Yeah.
we can go from there. We'll take it in small bites.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Do you want me to call you prior to the 2 weeks, or do you want me to bring in pictures, or?
When you've excavated the material out and you want me to come check it out, just give me a call.
Okay.
It would be helpful if you could see it before we discussed it, because we're certainly going to want your...
Yeah, I will, if they're going to call me as soon as they get it done. So even if it's Wednesday, the night of the meeting, June 28th, I'll come out. So
Yeah.
you're going to issue the EO
Yeah, so we'll issue the EO,
to remove the material by June 28th.
all right? And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
All right.
Motion and a
Anything
second.
further here, guys? I hear nothing. Anything else?
I move that we ratify and grant as we just said.
Second.
If we did that.
Motion and a second. No further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Take care, guys. All right. 242-1169, 1447, COC request 2357 Turnpike Street, Meadows, Maple Reserve, Oak Ridge.
All right, so on Monday this week, I was out at the site with Merrimack Engineering and their as-built plan in hand to make sure that we had caught all of the discrepancies that belong on this as-built. We found some more, but I'm now, 98.9% sure that
As you know, there's a lot of resident complaints being made through a million different channels out there.
right, and some of those things, because I've spent some time emailing,
Okay.
are our concern or will be our concern, but they're not part of this certificate of compliance request.
Okay.
So this, if you recall, we had 242-1169,
Yep.
which was, had permitted the entire project. Phases 1 and 2 were built. We basically signed off on those a number of years ago. We had them redo a lot of the drainage systems. We went through, we did all the wetland marking, we monitored the restoration areas, and we confirmed that all of the buildings and everything else about that portion of the site was in compliance. We did a stormwater review. We brought back in GZA, who had been the original. It was a pretty arduous process. So I'm pretty confident that phases 1 and 2, outside of, they did do all the stormwater management cleaning and stuff again, submitted that again last fall, I think, or fall before, but they had done everything. On phase 3, you had also had a drainage review by Lisa Eggleston at that point, because we were re-permitting this part and all the drainage was in. So she reviewed that and had signed off on that. Again, everything's been cleaned, maintained, all the erosion controls are removed, the wetland markers are up. We have all the monitoring reports on the vernal pools we're supposed to have. Now we have the as-built, we have a list of the discrepancies. The discrepancies are outlined on this plan. I know it's rather small, and you have a copy in front of you, I assume. If not, I have a couple larger ones. But you can see the things that are different on this plan are shown in the dark. So for the most part, it's patios that are larger, some like short retaining walls that were put in like behind buildings. There's an air conditioning unit on every single building. I mean, some of these things just weren't, there are more modifications, so we had to compare the as-built plan to like 3 different sets of plans just to figure out. There were some building extensions that were approved. There were some enlargement of garages that were approved. All of the decks were changed to patios at some point. Many of them are bigger than was proposed, but none of them extend beyond the limit of work that was shown. So, like you can see on, if we highlight just one, I'm trying to get maybe I'm as big as I can get, but you can see on some of these where the dark almost like doubles the size of the patio, but it's along the entire back of the building. It's not like the patio jumped out into a zone where it didn't belong. It just kind of was lengthened. And they're all paver patios. None of them are solid concrete pads. And again, the retaining walls that were added were sort of like, again, they're vegetated on top. They're not, and this is a 40B, so everything encroached. It's not like the project complied with the 25 and the 50. It doesn't. So there's nothing egregious out here that I think requires removal or anything like that. That's it.
You had said something about Lisa had looked at this as in the as-built stage.
Correct.
Was she
So
okay with it?
I think when we had original as-built of the detention system, we knew it was smaller than was proposed,
Yeah.
and she reviewed it at that time and did sign off on it.
Does the additional paver, or I don't know if we call it impervious area, would that affect stormwater calculation?
She reviewed it when they added walkways to each of the units. Every time we added something, she re-reviewed it, and none of those things. I don't think these extensions to the patios are something that would. They all drain onto lawn. None of them drain onto paved surfaces, where they would be part of the stormwater system to begin with.
I don't have any other questions.
Doug? Anybody from the, any abutters here? No abutters answer? What do you want to do?
I think we issue a full and final on 1169 and 1447.
Does this close out the whole project?
The whole project.
In front of us?
Again, they did everything from, there's a markings at the Harold Parker State Forest. The only thing that's, I guess, not on here is the pool that was proposed for the development was never built and would not be under. That just remains a grass area.
So nothing left? We're good?
We are good.
I move that we grant the COC for 2421169 and 2421447, 2357 Turnpike Street.
Second.
Motion and a second to grant COC request as requested. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
All right. You've already done 430, so we're on to 100 Johnny Cake.
100 Johnny Cake, 242115, PCOC request 100 Johnny Cake.
Is anyone here for that one? No? Yep. So Kale reviewed this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really straightforward project. It's a very old one, as you can see, from 1982, I believe. So this was a commercial, not really industrial.
No, this is the house.
This is the house. Well, then, let's back up. This was a project that was permitted in 1982, and it doesn't border on any resource areas. It's part of a subdivision, and so the order of conditions affected some parcels, but this one was way outside of any jurisdictional area, so there was no reason to have a concern.
Okay.
about issuing the marshal.
No questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Anybody feel moved?
I'll move that we grant the COC for 242115, PCOC for
Yep.
that property, 100 Johnny Cake Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any abutters? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 2421668, COC request, 180 Mill Road, Goldman.
Boo says yay via text. I think he meant on the meadows.
How are you? I'm good. Your project is done?
Or as proposed, or whatever.
All right.
So, yeah, we had a couple issues. They had just broken up, there was too much hay around along the driveway, so they raked that up. There was a little bit of disturbance on the lawn that was reseeded, and there was one wetland marker that needed to be moved. And there's a photo of you out there with a tape measure, so I'm
Yes.
assuming you moved it somewhere.
I have to say that, in all honesty, there are not that many big trees that are within that buffer zone, but I did find one.
Okay.
It was within 25 feet, as on the photo.
So one wetland marker was actually in the wetland, so we asked her to move that out. So,
Okay.
so all those things have been done, and you recommend? Kale's been out a couple.
Yep, I was out at the same time you were, and yeah, I recommend issuing the full and final. And we'll go out and double check to make sure that that is a perfect spot for the relocated wetland marker afterwards. We can just futz with the location.
Let me see if I can get a motion going here.
Just really quickly though, what was the order of conditions for? What were they doing? What was the project?
New retaining wall at the back of the drive and.
No, we didn't change the retaining wall at all. We had to regrade the area in front of our driveway. And there's a steep hill, and that had started to erode, so we needed to fix that part of the driveway.
Great.
And then you
so
repaved.
And we repaved all the way to the, to Mill Road.
Who'd you use for paving?
Arco Excavations did our whole,
Yeah.
did the whole.
Well, I move to, that we grant the COC for 2421668, 180 Mill Road.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
You're released.
Thank
You're
you.
free.
Thank you. Can I ask you two quick questions?
Sure.
Is there an actual document, the certificate? Do I
Yes.
actually get that?
You will get it and you will record it, and that will remove the filing from your deed.
Okay.
So when you say
So-
record it.
You record it at the Northern Essex Registry of Deeds
Registry
in
of Deeds.
Lawrence. Just like your notice of your order of conditions was recorded, so that's now on, and then you'll record this and that'll release that order.
Okay. And then my other question is, when I have that, can I take those little blue tags down that are on the wetlands?
You can take the flags down. If I were you, I think Norse flagged your thing and they put some metal tags out there.
Yeah, there are some metal.
It's a good idea to leave those, because should you ever require to do any work again, you might want to be able to find that wetland line without hiring
No,
someone.
I'm not doing it.
Okay.
But I don't like those little plastic flags.
Yeah,
so-
no, go take them out.
Then rip them down. Rip them
Use a
right down.
25-foot pole and rip them down.
That's it. Get them right down. Get rid of 'em.
Thank you.
242-135, this is an old one also. COC request 45 Beechwood, formerly 1545 Osgood.
Oh, now that is the one I was talking about to begin with. So, this was also part of an older development, and I see, oh, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, you want me to present? Yeah, Beechwood Hill is
Can you just tell them who you are for the record?
Joe Belanger, representing the Contabino family.
How are you, sir?
Good, thanks. Beechwood Hill is a little three-lot industrial subdivision, basically across the street from 1600 Osgood.
Yep.
In 1981, they built a little office complex way up on the hill. But to get there, they had to come with, I believe they had to come within the 100-foot buffer zone. And that was the only reason the complex itself is many hundreds of feet away from that. However, nobody ever applied for a certificate of compliance. The private road at that time has since been accepted by the town as a public way. All the drainage easements were deeded to the town, so the project is complete. there is a second building up there that didn't even require to come before the board.
Beautiful.
Kale, any reason why we shouldn't grant this?
None at all.
I have no questions.
No questions. No questions.
No questions.
I move that we grant the COC request for 242-135 45 Beechwood.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And it looks like, no.
We should also note that there was no requirement for an as-built in that plan.
So let me
They
ask
built the
you-
whole subdivision, no requirement.
Jen, the only one that we bounced all the way to the end was Hillside Road, Columbia Gas.
Yeah, I would just review it. Usually they send someone, I'm surprised no one's here, and I did talk to them about it.
So do you want us to just continue it?
I would just approve it. It's all in cut and trench. They came for the last one.
I'll tell you what, why don't you make believe you're them and present it?
Okay,
Right.
I'm just trying to find it on my, I seem to have already have written in their space,
Gas
but,
man in the middle of the road.
yeah, exactly.
I hear you. I just want somebody for
waste
the...
the time?
Well, I want someone for the record to take a minute and just tell us.
Okay, so here you go.
Just
Here,
the old record,
This is
you
the portion of Hillside Road, actually, I made you guys nicely. This is the portion that's off of the Andover bypass. So it's there's the gas main resource.
And it's, as Doug says, it's in the road.
In the road, around the edge of the road, there's just that one wetland area, but this just kind of, this section of hillside, 125, at the condos, Merrimack College, so it's practically on the Andover line. One wetland area, as always, you know, this is trench and cover. They only do whatever they can do in one day, and then they fill it back in. They don't stockpile any material. I will put a condition in there that whatever material they do stockpile, that it's more than 100 feet from the wetland. Sometimes they have stone on site or whatever. If they need to dewater, they need to do that outside of the buffer zone in a dewatering trench. What else did I put in the recommendations? They propose erosion control. Negative number 3 with pre and post construction.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? I hear none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Last but not least, Wellington Woods Conservation Restriction continued from May 24th.
So I have the signature page, which we didn't have, the approved signature page from the state and the applicant. There was one minor change. Mr. Messina was listed as the owner of the conservation land that we would hold the restriction on. He has since is the trustee of the homeowners association, which will own that land. So he can not be part of it in the end. So I recommend you
Do you want us to sign it?
approve, what did I recommend you do? I recommended something.
Let me read it.
Recommend approve as drafted and sign.
So moved.
I have a motion and a...
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
And this is to approve?
Approve the drafted conservation restriction, which you guys reviewed at another meeting. It's basically the land around the homes. Natural Heritage holds a further restriction on the property, so, but ours is the portion that will be the common land around the development. Not the kind of restriction we really like to hold, because it's basically, you know, monitoring for brush dumping and that sort of thing. But, you know, there's no, we own all the land around it, so it makes sense that we be the restriction holders, I guess.
So I have a motion and a second. We were in discussion. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
All right.
I don't see anything else on the paper.
No, that's it.
Adjourn.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.